Veebruari viimasel päeval võis näha Tallinna lennujaamas ühte perekonda, ema, isa ja väikest tüdrukut, kellel oli nii palju kohvreid ja pakke ja teised oleksid võinud mõelda, et nad tulid siia vist elama. Ja see mõte, kui neil peas oli täiesti õige, sellepärast, et Eestisse saabus misjonäriperekond, kes jääb siia 5 aastaks ja nüüd on meil väga suur eesõigus nendega tuttavaks saada. So welcome to Estonia.
Thank you.
We have song that sounds like welcome to Estonia. Have you heard it? No?
Not yet.
In
You
English?
have to look it up. Yeah.
Yes. In English or in Estonian?
In English.
In English.
Yeah, in
Oh,
English.
that's good.
Yeah. No, it's actually in Estonian. Just the repeat part is in English.
Okay.
So you have to learn Estonian.
We have to
sure.
get it.
But I have done over the years many interviews with our church members and workers. And when I ask my husband, what should I ask them? Then he always says, what's your name? Ask them, what's your name? But usually we all know their names. But today I have actually the reason to ask, what's your name? So that we could get acquainted.
Okay.
What's your name?
I'm Daniel. Daniel Meder.
Okay.
And my name is Svitlana Samoylenko.
And you have a daughter also.
Yes.
Sophia is her
Sofia.
name.
And how old is she?
Sophia is going to be 4 soon.
A little girl.
Yeah.
Oxford, yeah.
So tell us about your journey here to Estonia. This is so far from all the world here in North. How did it come to this moment that you are sitting here in Tallinn on this sofa? Where was the first point that you heard this country name and you had the idea that you would come to work here?
Okay, it's not so far because it's very near to her country where she was born. So around a year and a half ago, we're still working in Japan. And we knew that in 2025, the project that we're doing there would come to an end, would finish. So one of our colleagues who works for the General Conference mentioned Estonia to us. And then we started looking more information about Estonia and we started to get excited. And a year ago, we started the process and it finished just like 2 weeks ago when we arrived here. Estonia.
Okay, that's interesting. Who was that friend from General Conference who mentioned Estonia?
Brasiillane. He's an Albanian working for the General Conference, but he studied together with me in Brazil many years ago. We did theology together. So he is working for General Conference and he visits many projects around the world. So he mentioned to me, Daniel, we know that the project in Japan is going to finish. Would you consider Estonia? And I spoke to my wife and we came to a conclusion that the place wouldn't be a problem at all. The place wouldn't be the first thing that we would look at, but the kind of project that we would be asked to do. So the kind of project together with Estonia made the perfect combination. And here we are.
So what were your emotions? As your husband said, you are not far from here. You are from Ukraine.
I'm Ukrainian. I've lived in England for a long time. I went to study and stayed and worked. And then I lived in Brazil in England for 8 years and then in Brazil for 8 years. And then this last 4.5 years in Japan. And yes, for me also, the importance was a good fit with the local project and with the administration to have an alignment of a missional vision with the local field. That was the number one requirement or maybe desire that we both had. It's easy to work when we work together with the local field and not against, right? When what we can bring is valued and is needed and is wanted, then the work can happen in a way that is beneficial for everybody, nice for us and good for the field and the people that we work with. So that was our desire. I did want to be a little closer to home as well, because it's been a long time since I've lived anywhere close to my home. So Estonia kind of fit the bill perfectly. And when it was mentioned to us and we heard about what the local field is hoping to achieve and hoping to do here, specifically with church development and leadership development and church planting, we kind of thought this was it, and we didn't even consider anything else.
But let's go back to the past many years maybe. When did the first idea of mission work come to your mind? Do you remember the moment? I presume you weren't married then. You were young, I think, I don't know, but maybe you can talk us through.
I think the first time was when I was like a teenager, and in Brazil, I'm from Brazil. I was not from the church. I learned about the Adventist church through the school. So I knew a little bit about the church, I knew a little bit about the Bible, but I was not Adventist. And slowly, when I went to high school, I started to learn more and more about the church. People came to my life, people invited me to go to the church. And once somebody invited me for a camp meeting, youth camp meeting. And then I remembered that I was quite excited already about the church, but I didn't have many friends. So I wanted to ask my friends, my old friends, to come with me to this camp meeting. And then I would have
lots of friends.
Lots of friends. I would have the perfect combination too. I would have like the church and my friends all in the same place. And I invited two of them. And I remember at that time that they said, no, I don't want to go. Like, what you're going to do there? Pray the whole weekend? No. And I said, no, lots of young people will be there. It's going to be fun. Let's try. If you don't like it, don't go next time. And they went and they liked it. And from that time on, we started, the three of us started to visit different churches. We started to get excited about going to get to know more people from the church. And we made lots of friends. And then later on, I decided to get baptized. But that first bit, when I brought those two friends to the church, it gave me such a, how can I say, a little taste of what should be the feeling of bringing people to the church. One of them got baptized. The other one started, it goes to church until today, didn't get baptized, but went into the Christianity. And I think that was the first taste that I had.
So you were missionary before you were baptized?
Oh yeah, many years before. That I think I was something around 15, 16 years old.
But did you have a Christian background in your home family? I mean, Brazil is like Catholic country.
Brazil is Catholic country, and there is a Christian background. But in Brazil, if you say you're Catholic, means that you go to church 3 times a year, and you know what a Bible is. Doesn't mean that you are fluent in the Bible or anything else. Yeah.
Okay. But then you had to have some other moment when you knowledgeably made a decision you wanted to be a missionary. What was that like?
Yeah, that's a good question. After that, I decided that I wanted to do theology. But I had something very clear in my mind. I would study theology just for 1 year. I just want to see how things are. I don't want to be a pastor. I just want to learn how to study the Bible, then I quit and I'm going to do something else. But during that first year, we had to do like a practice. All the students, we need to go to a nearby town and give Bible studies. So it was like the first Saturday afternoon, we would go and find people to give Bible studies. And during that semester, we would go back every Saturday to that city. And we were still gonna go give Bible studies to those people. And in the second semester, we're supposed to find a new family and do the same thing. And I remember that all my friends, they got families, like exciting families. That one had a swimming pool and they would invite him to go to the swimming pool. Another one was doing a barbecue and he would give the Bible study together with the barbecue.
But you...
Mine, Sorry, mine was a house where there was a guy who was drunk every Saturday, and his mother who was deaf. She couldn't hear very well. So it was very tough for me. But it was so important, that moment in my week was so important that I would study during the whole week to try to understand the best way to deliver the message, the best way to ask the questions. How could I make that fun? How could I make that interesting? And at the end of the 6 months, the lady, the old lady got baptized. And I was very impressed, not with me, but impressed with the situation, with the missionary work and how that makes you feel. Then all the other students, they changed families. And I said, I don't want to change. I want to stay with the same family because I think I can get that young guy. And then the second semester we continued. He stopped drinking. And at the end of the second semester, he got baptized. And a few years later, I still knew that both of them were working, active workers at the local church. That made me want to finish theology and become a pastor. I remember very clearly that I thought to myself, and I spoke to God about that. I said, there is no better feeling in my life than bringing people to Christ. So yeah, I knew I wanted to do that for the rest of my life.
So you had really fruitful first experiences.
Yes.
Yes. What about you? Do you remember your missionary ideas or how to get started, or as a pastor's wife, did it come to your life with Daniel or just by yourself?
So I grew up in an Adventist family. And people here in Estonia of my age and older will also remember the USSR regime and the complications that brought, right? And so in my family, we have a lot of stories of sacrifice and missional spirit. And of course, it looked very different. It didn't look like it looks in Brazil because it was unsafe. And so a lot of stories about the faith that they had and how they carried it. And it's always inspired me. But the idea of missionary work, like in this classical sense, like Daniel described, it wasn't part of my life at all, because that's not how it functioned when I was young. It was done in secret, right? And it was done with a lot of danger to the person's life. So I studied at Newbold. It's a very comfortable Christian institution. Everybody is familiar. It's a small kind of family college. And later, when we got married, we had a very traditional church to take care of, him as a pastor, me as a pastor's wife. And to be honest with you, it didn't really offer a lot of opportunities for missionary work, because Brazil is a very large country. And the church there, because it's already a Christian church and people are very open to the Christian message, the church is very big. So one of the first places where Daniel served had 9 churches in 9 cities. So we lived in one and then had to go on Sabbath to different ones far away. So just the running of the whole district, it consumed a lot of time. And I know that at some point for both of us, but for me specifically, it got to a point where it was mechanical and it was not engaging and it was not alive. You go through the motions, you go to church and it's the same thing and it's nice, but it's not alive in you. Yes, and it's not enough. And that was about the time that the idea of church planting specifically, not just missionary work, door to door, because that's not my style. I don't really function like that. I can't really go door to door. That's just not something that I can do effectively. But church planting with people that are like-minded and people that are curious and open, that appealed to me. And so we had an experience in the same district where we organized a group of people and made it into a church plant based on the idea of personal and professional development initially. But from a spiritual point of view, with a Christianity overtone to it, then leading to a study group, leading to a small church. We did that in a cafe, and people, it was a small city, so all the teachers, the headmasters, the local entrepreneurs and business people, that was our group. And it was stimulating, and it was amazing, and we were just breathing, and we were just, to use the vibing off each other kind of thing, and it was so great. So that was the first time that missionary work in a very specific church planting field appealed to me, not as a job, but as a personal calling. And from then on, we've participated in trainings, and we've given trainings, and we've traveled a little bit, and that's how we went to Japan. And Japan just confirmed the whole thing. There's so many difficulties around, but when you have a group that's going with people that are genuinely interested in big questions of life, and they need Christianity brought to them in a relevant way, not in the traditional maybe way, but in a way that will speak to them. It just confirmed the whole thing, the whole idea. And so, we were ready for the next thing in the same sort of direction.
So you were working in Brazil, and then next stop was Japan.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but when was this moment? You were pastor's family, working in 9 churches. How often did you see one church? Like in every 2 months?
Every 2 months,
usually,
more or
yes.
less.
Okay.
But in Brazil, usually you have worship on Saturday, on Sunday, and on Wednesday. So would be a little bit less than 2 months if you go in other days.
The Sabbath worship maybe once every 2 months, but then we saw people during the week as well.
And then in Brazil, you were just working like pastors work. Yeah, but then you had to have this click that we are going away.
That was interesting, interesting click. We're not thinking about going away, but we start working, like Lana just said, we start working with church planting. And at the same time, in the capital of that state, where the union office is located, they asked us to come and help to translate pastors who are coming from the US to teach in church planting to other pastors. So I would be going and translating, and after 1-2 years, they start asking Svitlana to come and also teach some classes, and they asked me to teach some other classes. And in a specific moment, I think after 3 or 4 years that was going on, one of the people from the General Conference mentioned, we're doing exactly the same thing in Tokyo, Japan. We would love to have you there. And we said, well, maybe we can go. So we took holidays, we organized, and we went to Tokyo to help teach a church planting in Tokyo, to the union in Tokyo. And that, I think, was 2017, maybe. Then it finished, we went back, and then came the call from Japan. And then we spoke about that and say, I don't think it's time to go. We decided that we had a lot of things going on in Brazil, and maybe we should stay. So we said, no, thank you, but we're not going. Then came a second call from Japan. And we said, but there's so many things going on. We're helping so many people here. I don't think is God's calling. So we said no. And then that was very interesting. A few months later, one day, I woke up with that thought in my head, and I shared with her. And she said that she had the same thought, but before we shared. And then we said, maybe we're doing everything in the wrong way. We're not even letting God choose. We're just choosing. We just think something and say that that's probably what God wants. What if we let Him decide for us? And then it was very convenient because both of us thought that, of course, they would never call us again. And then we decided together that if the call come another time, we would go. That would be like a sign that God really wants us there. On the same week, we received another call.
The third call.
The third call. So we look at each other and say, let's go.
And what year was that then? when you declined 2007. You were in Japan 2017.
Yeah, we were in 2017. I think that was 2019.
Before COVID.
Before COVID.
Just before.
And then the whole process took a long time because we're going through the general conference to a project that is called Mission Unusual. So general conference brought 5 families from different parts of the world to Tokyo. And the idea would be doing this church plant in Tokyo during 5 years with 5 different families. So because of COVID, it took a year, and we arrived in Tokyo.
So it was really interesting. Another little confirmation, because many places in the world, of course, had the quarantines and all of that, but Japan is an island. And so Japan, they just closed their airports and they closed their borders, and nobody could come in or get out.
Even Japanese couldn't go back.
And so we said yes, the call was processed. We had documents to get our visas and all of that was ready, but Japan was closed, so they weren't processing any documents. And then they opened the borders. Nobody knew for how long, because it was right in the middle of the really bad situation globally. We went to the consulate for the visas. We got our visas. We sold everything we had because we came with just the bags that we were allowed on the plane. We, finished all our things, closed down the accounts and things like that. And we came to Japan, not knowing how long that window would stay open. And when we came to Japan, literally a week later, the borders closed again for the next 7 months or so. So
even more than 7.
Yeah, perhaps even more. Somehow it was just another confirmation that yes, we
it's like
there
God
was our
opened just
place.
a little bit for us to squeeze in and then closed.
And how quickly things happened was also very unusual, because usually that process would take longer than a couple of weeks,
Yeah. All the technicalities behind the missionary work. We can't even imagine, I think. But Tokyo is the largest city in the world. 40 million people living in one city. How did you manage Brazil is also a very big country, but still...
not as busy.
Yes. I haven't been to Tokyo, but I have seen in TV and read about it.
Tokyo is lovely. It is clean and it's functional and it's wonderfully safe, and it's just, you're there and there's 40 million people, but because of how the Japanese are, they're very mindful of their space. They don't come into yours, and they're very polite, they're very quiet. And so they're kind of small in terms of, how much space they occupy. So actually, to tell you the truth, Tokyo never felt overwhelming to me in 4 years.
You don't feel like there's all those people again, because they respect you so much that you don't feel uncomfortable. Everything is
somehow
easy.
Everything works. It's really quite amazing. But of course, there is lots of buildings and lots of asphalt, and we always joke that our baby was born and then for 6 months she never saw grass, because there is no grass, there's just asphalt. So we finally went.
Baby sleep all the time, so
right. So it doesn't really, but so she felt her first grass at like 6 months of age,
and she was amazed.
Yeah, she was like, "What is this?"
Okay, but then your project in Tokyo got to a beautiful end, or sorrowful. I don't know. Did you feel like that's done? We are going to the next level, or did you feel that so sorry we have to leave?
That's also very interesting. Sometimes you see God's work in your life in a way that's so clear that you feel actually comfortable taking the next step. So when the call came to come to Estonia, we said yes, but we're a little bit anxious because we knew that the work there was not 100% finished. And we said, well, if God is calling, we go. And then we start trying to finish the work as fast as we can. But as we said before, the call to be processed took a little bit longer than a year. And that year was exactly the time that we needed to leave the project in a way that now it's self-sustainable. So we planted a church, And we saw God bringing everyone together. We didn't have a place in the beginning. And then one of the non-Christian people that were meeting with us gave us his office during the whole Saturday. So they would use the office from Monday to Friday, sometimes Sunday. But during the Sabbath, the office was ours to use for church planting. And that office was so expensive in the heart of Tokyo that we would never be able to rent that. So we have a place. Now we start preparing the people to take over the church. And a few months, I would say 2-3 months before we came here, we received a couple, American couple, who came, and they were like self-sufficient missionaries. And they're looking for a project.
Self-supporting.
Self-supporting missionaries. They are looking for a project to work. And they just happened to come and visit our church. And say, well, we're looking for people to help here with that. And when we left, we looked back and we saw how God was bringing pieces together to make that church a church that will continue growing even if we're not there anymore.
So they took over the work from you?
Yes.
Not in official capacity, but as, lay leaders.
Helpers.
Who can give the structure that the group needed. And the group also has several other leaders that are very strong. So between them, the group is extremely egalitarian, and it doesn't just have one leader, and they're all free thinkers, a younger bunch of people, and so it's a very good fit. And for us, it meant that we left completely at peace, knowing that that little baby was taken care of and didn't need us to. It got better without us. They're doing a bunch of things already, just a couple of weeks after. And so it's just a wonderful, wonderful place to live.
So you can be like Paul. Now you planted a church in Japan, you left, and you know that there is a church that you planted, one church more in the world. Do you write to them, send voice messages, video messages like Paul?
We're not like Paul at all, but it's,
we send some, but we try to let them grow a little bit by themselves, because if we keep interfering too much, I think is not very healthy.
The truth is they don't really need us. We're friends, and we, of course, will keep in touch, but individually, not with them as a group. I think that's the healthiest thing. We'll continue being friends and super cheerleading for them as a group, but no, we don't have ties to the group as a group.
We heard last weekend that the best leaders are the ones that when they leave, the place, the church becomes even better. So if that's true, we are happy that they are growing a lot now, and they don't need us.
Yes, that's good news for us. So let's come to Estonia with our minds now. So what were your first... did you go from Japan to Brazil and then to...
No, we came straight to Estonia.
Then I don't know how you manage. You are like world citizens, not in the one place. Do you, I don't know, do you feel like world citizens?
We actually do, because I came from Brazil, Lana is from Ukraine, and Sofia was born in Tokyo. So
but don't you miss your home country or parents? Or
we do. But our parents came to visit us in Tokyo.
Then it's okay.
I haven't been back home consistently to live since I was 16. I left to go to the US first, and then England, and then I never went back home to live there, so I'm used to this. But, in terms of transition, this has been the easiest transition so far. So when I went from England to Brazil, it was very hard, and it took me a couple of years to actually just understand the place and start speaking the language. And the same with Japan. When we went from Brazil, where we were already established, I had a professional space for myself, and of course Daniel was working and well established, to Japan, a country where we didn't just not understand. Google doesn't understand. So if you read a label, with 3 alphabets written, a little bit this way, a little bit that way, and a little bit this way.
Google Translator.
And then you
has
point
difficulty.
Google Translator to it, and it just gives you gibberish. So, you go to a supermarket and you have no idea. Outside of the things that you can see, like eggs, okay, this is eggs, but everything else, you have no clue what's in it, what are the ingredients, and it was a long sort of adjustment period. Whereas here, I come and, there's potatoes and dill, right? And so I'm at home. I'm like, okay, this is great.
But do you feel like that now? You have been to Estonia now 2 weeks?
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah. What are your feelings or emotions right now?
Food is amazing.
Food. What
Food
have
is-
you eaten?
Oh, a lot of things.
Food is simple and tasteful.
Yeah, tasteful.
So again, like in Japan, we had to try many different things, and then the ingredients are different, and eventually we found the food that we liked. But here it's just easier. You go to a restaurant or you order food and you know what to expect, and it comes and it's what you expected, and it's just easy. And I think just culturally, this mentality of being a little less complicated in the culture, just saying things as they are, it's present here, and in Brazil it's not, and in Japan it isn't. You're supposed to understand and read between the lines. And so
I'll give you an example. When she came to Brazil, people would come to her and they say, hello, how are you? And then in the end they say, oh, let's meet sometime.
come to my house.
Come
like
to my
this.
house. And then she would take her agenda and say, yes, when? And but in Brazil, you kind of joke around. You say that, but doesn't
You
it
say
really?
it, but you don't mean it.
You don't mean it. So
You're
if you
just
say,
being
"Oh,
nice."
come sometime to my house," this means like maybe I will invite you another day. Don't wait for it. And her culture is like very different. If you say something, that is exactly what was said.
In Estonia also.
Yeah.
When
so
I
that's-
say come to my house, then I mean
It's an actual
Wednesday at
invitation,
12.
right?
Yes.
So see, that's it's for me personally, and I think maybe there's a little more adaptation on Daniel's side, but for me, it's an easy culture to transition into because of that, because I feel that I can actually say and hear, and there is more understanding that I'm confident of than in Brazil and Japan.
Japan. In Japan, for example, if I would ask something to a person, oh, can I sit here? And the person said, well, it's difficult. I would say, no, it's not difficult. I can make it work. Well, maybe would be better if you don't. And you could say maybe, but if we do like this, but I need to understand that the culture that they would never say no. They would never say yes. They will never say you can't do this. So it's a thing about reading the air. You need to read what was not said. So that took some years for us to get used to.
Yeah, so it's a question of getting the understanding of the culture, and that's okay, you can do that. But, first impressions, which was your question, it's easier. It's easy, and things are very comprehensive to us straight away, most of the things.
That's good.
Yeah.
But the weather?
Oh, weather is weather.
Weather is fine.
Okay, you have to just put another jacket on.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
get some clothes on.
I have to ask about Russia because we have a neighboring country, Russia, and many people are afraid to come to Estonia because the war in Ukraine and all the threats in the air. What were your thoughts about that when you heard that we could go to Estonia, but look where it situates on the map?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Of course, there's always thinking about that. My sister had to leave Ukraine, as many people did, in a highly stressful situation. They lost their house, and so it's touched us personally in our family. So to me, it is not an abstract idea. It's a very concrete, real thing. At the same time as that, again, we came for the project and not for the geographical location. Understanding that God has a plan and a way. And so, yeah. we trust that it'll be, that we will be able to contribute with something significant. That's the main thing.
That's beautifully said. But let's go to the project here in Estonia. What are your main purposes or projects? Or we know, I don't know, the conference has talked about it in their meetings, but other people know nothing about it. So it would be nice to hear from you. What are your goals in Estonia?
The main point is to support with training and coaching all the pastors and lay members who would like to start a church, to plant a church. So that's what we're doing in Japan, and that's what they asked us to come and do here. So we will learn from the culture how things work in Estonia, but we are here to contribute, to offer to offer what we have and help with this point, planting churches.
Yeah, so it's a little bit vague at the moment because the project itself depends in every place on local demands. And so we'll need a little bit of time to understand what those are. Who are the leaders that are open to church planting? Who are the administrators that are happy to support that, right? What are the dynamics? What resources are available? So we know some answers to those questions, but not all of them. Also, there's a human factor, of course, right? We are not going to be the best option for everybody. So we'll need to find people who can, who are happy to be supported by us specifically. So there is that kind of cohesion and so on. So all of that takes a little bit of time. So I think in the beginning, a lot of getting to know the churches, getting to know the local leaders, getting to know the younger people in the churches and, you know, what they would like, because that's the future and that's where the energy is, right? Not the the tired old timers that have so much on their plate already. We are here for everybody, but specifically for church planting initiatives. So yeah, that's the first step, understanding what is available and what is needed, and then seeing if we can bridge some of those gaps.
We learned that if you come to a place and that you start offering and give, maybe the people don't need that. Maybe they don't want that, or maybe they want but a little bit different. So what we learned is that first we need to receive from you the questions, understand how you work, understand what you prefer, and then we would adapt the church planting strategies and ideas. We would adapt it to your reality. And not only the country's reality, but each area, each city, and sometimes each person's reality. For example, if you want to plant a church, maybe it's different than a church that your neighbor would maybe start planting. So we need to understand who you are to be able to support you in your environment, with your ideas, in your own style.
That means a lot of communication and talking to people.
We like having people at home and just, you know, sitting down and having a cup of tea and getting to know people. So some of the first things we did in Japan were just a lot of gatherings with existing leaders in existing churches that wanted something more, that wanted something different, that had ideas that they couldn't realize because, you know, they were the only one thinking that, or they didn't know how to connect with other people, and so on and so forth. So we did lots of just very informal board game nights and, you know, tea evenings and just lunches and things like that to understand. And then once the synergies became clear, that was the beginning of the actual outreach kind of work. So first it's within our churches, with our leaders,
listening,
inside. Yeah. And then going from there and seeing if we can potentialize some of that and if we can just be alongside with people who have great ideas already.
Yeah. You said you love to have people at your home. Do you have a home in Estonia already?
Not yet.
Not yet?
We're looking for a home.
Yeah, yeah, we will locate it eventually. I'm sure it's waiting for us. We've seen many, and we are trying to choose a place so that it can actually host, you know, a few people visiting. So that adds another layer on it. But you know, God is good, and yes, we will find a good spot.
Basically, this is the first thing that we look when we go to see if the house works for us. We see the living room and say, how many people can we fit here? It's the first question.
Not where the TV is going to be.
No.
Usually we don't even have a TV at home, because the idea is not to look at something, but is to look at each other and talk to each other.
This would be a good setup.
This could be our home.
Yeah.
They have a couch.
Right.
But Daniel, you are now pastor coach of Compass Church.
Yes.
You have met them already. And what are your plans in Compass? Are you also at first going to listen and watch and
100%.
see what is going?
First, we need to get to know them. And to get to know is about listening. We're there. We are here to support you. But tell me what you are. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you want and how you want. And after some time, like Lana said, I think we can find the synergy. The group of people who are willing to do something different. Maybe this group is willing to plant another church from Compass. Maybe they want to stay a little bit longer here. Let's understand and learn what they want, and then offer something that actually they are needing and they are looking for.
Yeah, and in all this, you know, I don't want it to sound like we are the solution to everything or we can do anything. Nothing like that. You know, we know where we can help, and with time, those dynamics, they become clear. You know, the alignment between sort of ideas and projects, and so eventually those will be the projects where our energy will go. So it is really not anything fancy. It's just being together and getting our hands, you know, kind of in the messy pie making thing of talking to people about spiritual issues. Yeah.
So I hear one word that hasn't actually been said, but I am thinking about it when I think about missionary work, that patience. You have to be really patient, not you show up in one country and we are going to plant a church and tomorrow we have 100 people here. There is nothing like that.
The first thing that people from that country would say is like, you're not even from here. Who are you? What do you want to do? So again, the idea is like, we are here to get to know you and see how we can be of use for you. That's the main point.
Not that I can sit back and watch you working.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, this is exactly the opposite. Because basically, like, I didn't come here to do your work. I came here to support you on the work that you're already doing and that you want to continue doing. So that's why when we left Japan, things kept growing. Because we're not the only hands on deck. We are there to support and to train. And now that they grew up, we can leave and they will continue growing up. So yeah, I think that's the best approach.
So your plans or project, you are sent from South American division through General Conference.
Yes.
And when I read the news, the South American division has made really good and grand plans that they have received missionaries past 100 years, and now they want to send missionaries out. Yeah. And you are one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was another step that we could see God putting His hand on. When we heard in Japan that we would come to Estonia, there was just one problem. There was no budget. So, okay, we are going, but no one is paying for anything. So it was interesting because it was exactly at the time that South America Division was renewing a project that started, I think, 10 years ago, something like that, that they're sending families to different countries. So I got in contact with the president of South America Division. It happens that I was, a long time ago when I just started my work, I was a teacher of his 2 children. So I knew him. And he said, well, Daniel, we're organizing this project, but we're still missing people and we're still missing projects. Because in 2025, we want to send 50 families to 50 countries doing 50 projects. And I said, well, can I be one of the families? They said, yeah, of course, why not? Just let's see which country I'm going to send you. I said, well, I already have a country and I already have a project if you want. I said, yeah, because we have the budget, but we don't have the project. So this took a long time, but TED, Trans-European Division, in conversation with the Baltic Union and the Estonian Conference and South America Division.
And General Conference.
And General Conference. And then eventually we were part of the 50 families. And Estonia became one of the projects that were included in this 50 projects.
That's really interesting. That
Many pieces.
Yes. When they have in South America, they have the constituency meeting, then our country name is going to be pronounced there.
Yes, yes.
But you mentioned before that in Japan there were 5 families.
Yes.
Did you communicate or interact between the families? Did you get together?
Yes, all the time. So each one of the families were supposed to plant their own churches. But at the same time, together, we were training the Japanese leaders, pastors and lay leaders, to plant churches. So overall, after 4.5 years, now we have 19 churches. There are small churches, they are home churches or office churches, but they are working. So each year, we would do something that's called Acts. So we would bring all the leaders who want to and who are interested in planting churches, and they would come to this, how can I say, these lectures, these lessons, these seminars, these meetings together for a whole weekend. And that would happen 4 times a year. And in between one of the 4 times, they would be working in planting a church. And we, like the 5 families, we were coaching them and helping them, like being next to them, holding their hand and say, let's do it together. And as a result, now we left with 19 mini churches planted.
Is it the same Acts that is now rolling in Estonia?
Yes.
Or not just in Estonia, in Greece, Cyprus, what the countries were?
Yeah, the
Latvia.
Trans-European Division started this project here.
It is the same act, but it is very interesting to watch how it's morphing based on the geographical location. So our experience with it in Japan was very interesting because in the first year we ran it because it started in the US and even Brazil to an extent, and Europe, they use a very specific way of teaching which kind of presents the concept and then you go and do it. In Japan, the Japanese mind is different, and we perceived this after the first couple of modules of training in Japan completely failed. Like, we had good feedback, people liked the content, but nobody was doing anything.
But
nobody actually did anything. It was the lowest engagement rate in people that attended to actually do things that anybody from our team has ever seen. So in Japan, we had to completely reformat it and talk about experience first and then action. So we've had to do things for people to come and see these new churches that we're proposing and to feel how it is to not be in a church building and just these different moments. And then after that, engagement picked up. So ACT is just this overarching idea that churches should multiply. They should not just stay the one church that was founded, 50 years ago, and it's still that church at that many people, and it's neither growing nor dying. It's just kind of like just existing. So ACT is the idea of revitalizing the church, not for the sake of revitalizing it, but for the sake of it splitting and multiplying and growing and opening other churches, right? So it's a very, very clear idea. The mission is planting churches that are relevant for the modern people, finding ways, creative ways. It doesn't have to be a church building. It doesn't have to be any specific doxology. It doesn't have to be any specific order, right? So that's the message. How it's applied in different countries then, of course, varies a little bit.
Yeah. You mentioned that the South American division sent out 50 families now.
Yes.
Do you communicate with them?
They are just going this year. So we met them last year and we talked to them, and was very interesting to hear these stories. Some of them were just renewing a project that they already started. So yes, we met all of them, and now they're starting to go. Yeah.
And there are new families. But the South American division has been wonderful at supporting the missionaries. So of course, you're talking about 50 completely different locations around the globe. It's not very easy to get all of them together in one room very often. But it did happen last year, so we did participate in a congress in Turkey where everybody came together from all these different countries. And it's, of course, just wonderful. So we don't know when and how it'll happen again, but I guess at some point we'll have that opportunity. Yeah.
One thing that was very important, and I told the president of the South American division, I said sometimes missionaries are giving, are preaching, they are always doing something. But that Congress was made for us to be revitalized, it's almost like a breath of fresh air, a drink from and it was really nice, like the idea of bringing them to take care of the missionaries, and then now you can go back and you can spend a lot of energy on the field. But some time and again, they would do this to recharge.
And it's a reflection on the global Adventist church, I think, on how this kind of stuff is possible, how this project is possible, how us being here is possible. Yeah, it took a little longer, but the amount of support and the amount of work that goes into just a single transfer like this one is incredible. And the number of people that work on that, that help us close things down in one country, check all the requirements, all the legal stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into something like this.
I can't even imagine.
The visas and the documents for all the family members. And in our situation, we have 3 passports between 3 people, so it's a lot of work, and our church is willing to do that and is ready to invest in that. And that's a very encouraging thing, I think.
And we felt the same thing from the Estonian conference, because at the same time that General Conference needs to do a lot of things, South America Division did a lot of things, but the Estonian conference was always in contact and helping with this part from here. Yeah. So we see that Estonian conference has a lot of interest in keep growing and bring missionaries and investing in the church. And we're very proud to be here, very proud of it.
Maybe last question about your dreams for the, next year, for the short-term dreams. Do you have them? Do you have any?
Okay, well, just a very practical thing. The language, it's a blessing that everybody speaks English here, but I also understand that we will need to integrate at least on the level of, conversation. And also our daughter will need to go to a kindergarten, and so the dream is seeing her play with kids at Compass in Estonia, like that. When that happens, I think I'll be able to breathe and relax and just like, you go, baby. You've got this.
She's 4. She
will learn super fast.
She'll be good.
But part of the dream is like we should learn too. So.
You have to go to kindergarten.
We have to go to kindergarten and learn together with her. That's true.
Yeah, she'll be miles ahead, but that'll be wonderful. I would love to meet people and get to know people, and I would love to have people feel like they can come to us, to our house, or to us as just, friends. That would be really lovely to feel that, that people trust us based on seeing us, you know, just do our life and do church and do all of that, you know? Yeah.
And I think I will sign on all of those items. And I would like to, when we leave, I don't know when we leave, but when we leave, to look back and see that it was relevant. It was good. Something grew from our staying here. So yeah, that's what I want to see. But again, it is not my plan, but to learn from what Estonians want. And then when we leave, see that it was achieved.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and thank you for this conversation.
Thank you so
And
much.
I wish you all the God's blessing.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you for having us.